What's going on, everyone? It's Adrian from Draft Time, and welcome to my Week 9 NFL, FanDuel, and DraftKings picks video. I'm gonna go ahead and go through the slate and go through my picks, but before I do, make sure you guys shoot this video a like, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel because it'll really help out with the algo, and the more views and the more subscribers I get, the more of these videos I'm gonna make. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So let's go ahead and look at the quarterbacks for this slate. And right off the bat, you see Josh Allen's the highest projected quarterback on the slate, 25.7 projected fantasy points. Now, I like Josh Allen in cash lineups, but at $9,300, I don't think he's going to be one of the guys that's in the top lineup in some of these tournaments. But right underneath them, you look at Kyler Murray. Really like Kyler Murray in these big tournaments. He's going against Seattle, who has a really sketchy defense, in Arizona, indoors. Hopkins is looking like he's back to his normal self. So this game is looking like it has real shootout potential. Now, as far as Herbert goes, he's not really having that great of a season. He hasn't scored 25 all season if you take a look at his game log. He's also got Eckler over there, who's a touchdown hawk. But with all that being said, he's only $7,800 and he's playing in Atlanta indoors. The Falcons actually give up the third most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks, so he's got that working for him. Now, his whole receiving core is banged up. Mike Williams is out. Palmer and Keenan Allen are both questionable. So you want to pay attention and see who plays out of those guys. But stacking those guys, you know, Herbert and Keenan Allen, or Herbert and Palmer, or even a Herbert Eckler stack, because Eckler gets a lot of touchdowns out of the backfield. That's something you may want to consider. So Herbert has some boom potential, so I like stacking him on this slate. Now, what about Joe Burrow? I don't like Joe Burrow on FanDuel. He's $8,500. Carolina's defense is average, but with no Jamar Chase, that offense wasn't looking that good last night. Now, on DraftKings, that's a whole different story. He's a lot cheaper on DraftKings, and we'll go through DraftKings later. But right underneath Joe Burrow, let's take a look at Aaron Rodgers. He's only $7,000. He's not having a great season, but he's going against the Lions, okay? You guys see what Tua did against the Lions last week, and Aaron Rodgers is certainly capable of that. It's looking like Allen Lazard is going to be coming back. I would really consider Green Bay for a double or triple stack just because the receivers are so cheap for Green Bay. So that's a game I really like, and we'll get to that later because I want to show you some of the triple stacks later for that game. Now, Kirk Cousins going against Washington, $7,900. I'm not crazy about that. They run the ball a lot. I can't really see this game being a shootout. So I'm not crazy about that. Justin Jefferson is extremely expensive. So that's a stack I'm going to stay away from. But Geno Smith, I love Geno Smith's stack with Metcalf or Tyler Lockett going against Arizona, in Arizona. For the same reason I like Kyler Murray, it's going to be a high-scoring game, most likely. It's going to be a shootout. And neither of those defenses is very good. Now, Tua Tagovailoa is an interesting one. He's coming off a huge Week 8, but he's playing in Chicago, you know, the Windy City. And a lot of people talk a lot of stuff about his arm and his lack of arm strength. But I still like the Tua and Tyreek or Tua Waddle stack against Chicago. And the reason being is because Chicago just traded Roquan Smith. So if the Dolphins are able to establish the run game early, they're going to be able to run a lot of play action, a lot of RPO. And not only that, when you have guys like Waddle and Tyreek Hill, they have the potential to take every play to the house. So I like the Tua stack on FanDuel. So let's go ahead and let's run the top 3 lineups for FanDuel and see what it spits out. So you got Josh Allen, Devin Singletary, Aaron Jones, Gabe Davis, Drake London, Cooper Kupp, Hayden Hurst, Jonathan Taylor, and the Dolphins defense. So you have a Josh Allen, Gabe Davis stack. Like I said, I like Josh Allen for cash, not crazy about him for a GPP. However, the Josh Allen, Gabe Davis stack does have potential because Gabe Davis has, you know, every now and then he has a game where he has 2 touchdowns, you know, 2 big plays where he gets over 100 yards. Let's take a look at his game log. You see, he had that 30.6 point game, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns on just 3 catches. And he had that game against Kansas City where he had 48.1, 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. Now, I talked about doing the Green Bay double and triple stack, and I want to show you how to do that on our optimizer. It's actually really simple. If you come over here to the Stacks tab, click on New Stack, choose the Green Bay Detroit game, and then over here on Stack Type, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to choose quarterback / receiver / opposing receiver from Green Bay. Hit Save Stack. So now, when you hit Generate Lineups, you'll see that you got Romeo Doubs, Robert Tonyan, and on the turnaround, see, a triple stack means that you have two receivers from the same team, and then you have a receiver from the opposing team. So you got Romeo Doubs, Robert Tonyan, and then on the Lions, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. And actually, the Lions just traded T.J. Hawkinson, so Amon-Ra St. Brown might get even more targets. So I really like that triple stack. Now, you might want to mix in a little bit of Allen Lazard, and none of these receivers are going to be very heavily owned, especially since Allen Lazard is actually questionable right now. So that's another reason why I really like this stack, because although Aaron Rodgers might be pretty heavily owned going against the Lions, those receivers, they're probably not going to be very heavily owned. And then Robert Tonyan is another guy I like on the slate, because you have a slate where you have no Mark Andrews and you have no Travis Kelce, so slim pickings at the tight end position. So Robert Tonyan definitely has some boom potential, especially going up against Detroit. You see, last week they gave up a touchdown to Mike Gesicki from the Dolphins, so I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers targets Robert Tonyan in the red zone. So let's take a look at DraftKings, and let's go ahead and change that to the main slate. And it's a little bit different for DraftKings. Some quarterbacks who I like on DraftKings, who I don't like on FanDuel. And right off the bat, one of them that you see is Joe Burrow. He's only $6,600 on DraftKings, which is a huge step down from FanDuel, where I think he was $8,500. So definitely like Joe Burrow on DraftKings. But as far as guys like Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert, I'm going to stay away from those guys on DraftKings. When they're in the 7,000s and you got some pretty good options that are in the 6,000s and even in the 5,000s on DraftKings, then I don't really see the value in stacking someone like Kyler Murray or Justin Herbert. Now, Aaron Rodgers, he's $5,900 on DraftKings, so I like the Aaron Rodgers Green Bay stack for the same reason that I like it on FanDuel. Geno Smith, Tua Tagovailoa, they're still pretty reasonably priced, $5,800 and $6,700. But one more guy I want to add to that is Trevor Lawrence. He is $5,200, and he's going against the Raiders, who are one of the worst pass defenses in the league. So Trevor Lawrence is another guy I would consider stacking with some of his receivers, maybe Christian Kirk. Let's go ahead and look at Jacksonville. Change that to all. So you could throw in some Christian Kirk. He's only $5,500 on DraftKings. And then look at Zay Jones. He's only $4,100. So there's some options there. And then Evan Ingram at tight end, only $3,300. So the Jacksonville stack going against the Raiders, who, like I said, have one of the worst defenses against the pass in the NFL. I really like Trevor Lawrence. So anyways, with all that being said, let's go ahead and run the top lineup for DraftKings, and let's see what it spits out. So you got Joe Burrow, Travis Etienne, Joe Mixon, Tyquan Thornton, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Hayden Hurst. So you got a Joe Burrow, Hayden Hurst stack on DraftKings for the default top lineup. Then you got Tyler Higbee and the Seahawks defense. Now that Seahawks defense is going against Arizona. The reason that the optimizer is picking it up is because they're only $2,500, and there's not a lot of variance between defenses. But if you are worried about that defense, you might want to consider excluding that defense or going with one of these other lineups. Defenses are pretty hard to predict on DFS and in fantasy, and a lot of times you might want to just consider fading one of the popular defenses for a not so popular defense. So let me know what you guys think in the comments section. If you're not already a Draft Time member, go ahead and sign up. You can sign up for a free 7-day trial. Make sure you pay attention to some of these injuries and to some of these trades, because the lineup is definitely going to change before Sunday. And good luck to everyone this week.